This is kind of a combination of Hex Command Ancient Medieval with the board game figures from Lionheart. And why do we do this? They're readily available. I mean, at least they were, and you can still get many of these figures on eBay. It's a game that was put out a while ago, and it had its own simplicity, and therefore it had its own issues. And so what we've done is we've basically taken Lionheart and hex commanded it. So it's using a hex grid, and there are some other tweaks that we did that basically make it a little bit more augmented. Okay, and I wanted to call out, by the way, something that we've been doing is putting labels on the backs of these and using the label machine. So here we got something called Brotherton Cav or something. So the reason we do that is so that in case you need to actually know what is what in this game, this will help you. But sometimes these games go so fast because it's basically it's kind of like chess on steroids, that it won't take long to play a game. This is a perfect example. This table is just 4 by 4 feet, and for figures of, well, it's not that the figures are that big, but the stands they're on are another almost half an inch tall. So you get these big. They're nice, relatively nice looking figures. I have to say they're actually okay. It's just that when the game was designed, they only had several poses, and you would never be able to get all the poses you want in one game. You'd need to buy 2 games. Well, as it turned out, now is the best time to do that, or at least a couple of years ago it was, because on eBay we got like 4 sets of these games. So it only cost us like, $20 for 4 sets, because they're everywhere. And not only that, but there's some guys on eBay that are selling this individual figures. So you would say, Terry, you're not using the CNC dice. You're using the symbol dice that came with the game. And the reason is exactly. Mainly because these dice are almost exactly the same concept. Again, they're symbol dice. There's one, the panic is the D6, which, if you wanted to ignore that, technically speaking, they should have called it something other than panic so that they could use that D6 spot, excuse me, for something. But as it is, it's kind of just means that. And, well, you get the idea. They should have probably come up with something different. They should have said another symbol means panic, but they actually used it to say panic. Anyway, so you got your 1, 2, 3 symbols. So 3 symbols, which in hex command would be the same as color, which is blue. And then you got your 2 arrows, which would be code. And that's how, again, ironic it is, because we had this system way before, I think several years before this game came out. Anyway, we had no idea. And so it's the same concept. So then you had your D6, or the 6 value, and they called it panic. We just called it CNC because it had to have other purposes, other meanings. All right, so we're using these dice, but there are some tweaks that we made in order to make it less simplistic, because in the simplicity of the game, it was kind of like, say, boring or something, or juvenile, or too simple, and not really in-depth enough for what we thought people would like to have. And then we thought the game's production deserved to be better. They almost could have done a Lionheart, 2 or something. They could have done sequels or something, because there were some redeeming qualities about it. All they had to do was just reissue the rules, on the website, and just tweak it a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just demonstrate a couple of turns and show you, potentially, if I don't get it wrong, how some of these things work. So, as we all know, there's the same situation of rolling for initiative to see who goes first. Well, again, remember, there's 2 options for that. You could have a situation where you're activating by, division, segment, or activation sequence numbers, as we call them. For instance, this would be group number 1, and group number 2 would be this central region, and just like in Battlecry, group number 3 would be the right flank, and even group number 4 would be that individual unit over there. So you could do it like that. So it's completely up to the players how many groups they have and how many units are in every group. And then you roll on activation. Instead of doing the 1 die roll, whoever wins gets initiative. Because that just, I mean, you can readily see how complicated, although I shouldn't say complicated, but, well, it actually is complicated, because what would happen is if you activated your entire force before the other guy, that's really kind of a different flavor than if you did by, you know, brigade or by division, you know, so stuff like that. So when we choose how to do it, we could say this is the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and the 4th over there, that mounted unit. And for the silver guys, this is the gold team, the silver team would be, you know, group 1, group 2, group 3, and group 4 would be these 2 guys right here. And the presence of the commander is only for demonstration purposes. Obviously, these guys haven't got one, although this guy does have a flag. So we could say that's the commander. So we'll say that's the commander. So let's do activation. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or would another sequence be smarter for these guys? So devising which sequence number would be best. It could be just simply 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, let's try that. So this will be his 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th activation. And the gold team is going to have, yeah, 1, 2. By the way, that king is individually mounted. He's not mounted with another figure. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's do number 1s, which are these 2 right here. This whole group and these 3 guys. So rolling for this one, rose arrow. So when you have dice like this, it's obviously the panic symbol here is going to be the highest roll. The arrows are the 2nd highest roll, and the axes are the 3rd highest roll. So let's just do it again. So axe, and then this number 1, he rolls arrow. So the number 1 here moves. So again, what do we got? Moving into a forest. There's 2 archer units and 1 peasant unit, okay? And they're going to move into the forest, so then later on they can proceed out of the forest and so on. So archers will move in. This is when we have, if we had enough, we just don't have, we do. Individual trees. Okay, so this guy goes in, individual tree, makes it a lot easier. Okay, that's the reason for having individual trees, so you can kind of stick the tree underneath the base, and the guy looks like he's still kind of in the trees. Actually, what we'll do is take another loose one and just put it in front. All right, so anyway, they're in the trees. That's their first. His first move could be, does he need to adjust based on what he now sees of the opponent? He might want to move his archers forward to get a shot, but then, by the way, this unit here is in the trees as well. No, because if the other guy's in cover, he'd be coming off the hill, which is here, and then facing, you know, so why come off the hill? Why do it? He's fine. So he has nothing to do. If things progress, maybe we'll change. Okay, number 2, which would be here and here. Axe again and arrow again. So the first or the second group moves. So maybe start right away with an attack. See if we can pull something off that's interesting. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Heavy cavalry, or just cavalry, and then 4 with this guy as well. Actually, it's 5. Well, whether they're armored or not is a consideration we ask ourselves. Is it heavy cavalry is going to move fast as normal cavalry, which is unarmored? Don't really know. I mean, we do know. Do we want to call these guys armored? Well, they are armored. Okay, so let's play it that way. 4 is going to be the maximum for this. They're going to be called heavy cavalry. So that's that second, and his second is the center over here. Maybe he says he wants to do something to, you know, put some little pressure in the middle there. All right, so on the road, he's already on the road. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And king goes with him. So now they're presenting a possibility of doing something against the opponent cavalry there. So, okay. No wants, no warrants, same. Number 3, here and here. So there, rose arrow, and arrow tie, roll again, arrow, and X. So this is going to go first, but again, he's already in a kind of a defensive posture. Does he want to come off that hill? Yum, 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 yum. You can always go back, I suppose. Let's see. Maybe we will. 1, 2, and 3 for infantry. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and he's going to move down the road. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, last one. Rolling there, which is best roll. Rolling here. All right, so this cavalry can move. And we'll go, yeah, down the road. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, combat. Archers probably have a range of the cavalry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is range. You'll notice that we didn't do the range band as we do in Hex Command. So this would be automatic, color, code. By the way, these are 3-figure archers. So they're going to roll 3 dice, but that 3 dice is only going to happen at half range or closer. In this case, it's beyond half range. So they're going to take a dice away. So 2 units firing. First one doesn't score anything. It does roll a panic, but doesn't apply because it's ranged fire. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Same thing. So he's going to roll as well. There's no officer effect. There's no other effects, as a matter of fact. Again, misses. Nothing. They score on an arrow symbol. And even then, there's 2 hits to remove a figure when it comes to cavalry. So this archer, I believe, is out of range. Let's say we're firing, but I think it's out of range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So that's it. Next turn. Again, do we want to change the sequence? That's the first question. Does either player want to change the sequence? This is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. In this case, yeah, let's change from here being number 1 to this being number 1. This would be number 2, this would be number 4, and this would be number 3. So in making that change, it doesn't just automatically happen. You actually have to roll a die to see if your commander has the intelligence to think of it. So basically it is a equivalent as we in Hex Command would have of rolling code, which is red. Here it's going to be a arrow. So to change, it's going to be an arrow. And he got it. So he makes his change, number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. The gold team, yeah, maybe do the same. Change to number 1 here, number 2, number 3, and number 4. And he didn't get it. So we stay with his original sequence. Okay, so because it's in range, this is the question. Do you fire before the other guy gets to move? The answer is yes. You can fire at any time. So we'll roll off on our number ones. This is number one, this is number one. So here, highest roll, here, not highest. So this number one's going first. To fire at the infantry, it is going to be, I think now, the closest target. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's nobody else in the range, so they can both fire at that one unit, which I think they will do. 2 dice and 2 dice, again, because there's 3, they lose 1 for the range. So we'll roll them both at the same time looking for arrows. Not a single one. People might say, wow, it seems like it's really easy to do that. Well, they've missed on several occasions. They've missed a lot. Okay, so they've taken their shot, and this is the number one right here. So he's going to do what? 1, 1, and the other guy's going to form up. So 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3. Okay. His number one is here. These guys have already fired, so maybe he wants to now move his infantry. Might be a good idea. 1, 2, and 3 puts these guys kind of like this. 1, 2, and just to perform a steady line, we'll make sure we turn these guys. We got a nice little defensive posture going on with cavalry. This is again number one. This is number one is finished. And his number 2 is the cavalry. What's he going to do? Okay, his number 2 is here. We'll roll and see. Rolling for the silver, number 2. Number 2 on the gold team. So the king and his associated cavalry are now going to do something. The question is, what do? They both contact maybe this one unit. Because you see, these 2 guys are not sharing. Okay, they do have a zone of control of these hexes, yes. But here, no, only he has that. So if he takes his unit and goes, yeah, you know what, I am going to do that. Attack this, getting a +1 for the presence of the king. So there's 4 dice here, actually 5 dice. Presence of the king. We don't have things like fear of charge, fear of contact. Of course, you can always do that. But right now, the basic system is no. They just go ahead and contact. Any other modifiers? No, not really. Here's number 2. Remember, he won the die roll. His number 2 is here. So, 5 dice. Let's get another dice somewhere. I think I have it over here. Like I said, we have many copies. 5 dice. The good thing about these kinds of games is that you're actually rolling a lot of dice, which makes everybody happy. They're hitting on axes, and they have rolled 2 axes. So that takes out 2. And again, in this kind of game, figures are removed from the stands. And these guys are going to come back rolling 4, but hitting only on 1 for 2 ratio. So for every 2 hits, they take out 1. And they got 3 hits, no commander kill, which would be signified by the panic. Or check for the commander kill. If they had rolled 1 panic, they also have to check themselves, but that also indicates a commander kill. So they got 2. That takes out 1. So, cost right there. No resolution to the melee. It continues for the next turn. If players choose to do that, otherwise they play right away. They keep going. But in this case, yeah, that'll be it for the turn. His number 2 now is cavalry, so they can go 4, which allows him essentially to join the melee, 1, 2, 3, and 4. or just simply ignore it, he's going to be shot by the archers. He needs to think about potentially what could be done. It's going to stay there. Cavalry elects to not move. There are optional rules for that too, by the way, by electing to have a reactionary force. Basically, it's on Overwatch. It's going to elect not to move. And it will take an option to move, should it feel it necessary. It's kind of a good rule that we do, which is more realistic, because the commander says, guys, I don't want you to do anything but keep your eyes out there. So they're watching. And then as soon as, because of proximity, this is why this all happens. As soon as we see something, he can go, all right, go. And then they immediately do it. That's the idea. The children of the night. So that's his number 2. Now number 3, cavalry, and his number 3 is right here. So rolling for him for the gold team, axe. Rolling for the silver, axe. Gold rolls arrow, silver rolls axe. So there we are. Silver's going again. What's he got? 6 on the road. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Threatening. Number 3 says, enough of this, let's move. So he goes 1, 2, and 3. Because we're not just going to sit here all day. And then we're going to fire. But these guys have already fired. So we have the 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is this guy down the hill? Yes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's beyond half. That's all we care about. So 3 archers to there. Oh, sorry, just 2 because of the range. 2 hits. Nice roll. And here, same. Is it cover? Cornfield versus arrows? Yeah. 1 dice only. Didn't get it. So yes, 2 hits here. Good score. Pretty good casualties. Those things can be significant. There's not that many units out here. And number 4, infantry back there. Rolls highest. Infantry here doesn't. So these guys are going to move. Let's do, oh, wait a minute. Whoa. That's my number 4. This guy was supposed to be number 3. So 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. This is his number 4. So 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3. So there you get an idea of how that is played. It's not complicated at all. It's very simple. But it makes you think. You really have to be conscious of the possibilities. And it's very quick because the figures are being pulled off. It's not like the hex command system where you've got, like, you know, dots or symbols being put down, and in our case, discs. You could do that, but in this case, it makes it very simple. Beauty of it, of course, is that the figures are readily available, at least to say they're big and they're easy to play with. Unfortunately, fragile. Some of these guys, pieces can break, and that's another reason we bought so many copies of the game, so that we could have these guys, as many as we needed. But it's true, they could be individually mounted on discs. Because they're slotted, they could be. But we'll just continue to use these bases because, first of all, they fit inside a 2.5-inch hex really nice. So there we are. Next turn would be a melee here. Maybe he wants to change his sequence. Maybe now the Silver Commander wants to change sequence, and then they would continue. But this is very interesting to see how that would transpire. The possibilities are